All right, let's get right into it. Today we're tackling a question that I think everyone has wondered about at some point. Are we just stuck with the way we think? Those really deep, automatic negative thoughts that feel like they've been with us forever? Can we actually truly change them?
I mean, really think about it. Do you ever feel like your anxiety or maybe your habit of always expecting the worst is just baked into who you are? Like it's a permanent part of your brain's wiring?
And you know what? There's a really good reason they feel so permanent. Because on a physical level, they kind of are. All those years of thinking the same way have literally burned these thoughts into your neural pathways, almost like well-worn grooves on a trail. They stop feeling like thoughts you're choosing to think, and they start feeling like they just are, like unchangeable facts.
And that leads to this really heavy feeling of being stuck, right? It's like your brain is just on autopilot, running this old kind of gloomy program that you just can't seem to quit. It's as involuntary as breathing. So the real question is, can we actually change this programming?
Well, the answer, based on decades of incredible neuroscience, is a huge, resounding yes. Absolutely. You are not stuck. That autopilot in your brain, it can be reprogrammed.
And the reason this is even possible is because of one of the most amazing discoveries ever made about the human brain, something called neuroplasticity.
So, what is neuroplasticity? Well, to put it simply, it's your brain's amazing ability to reorganize itself. It means your adult brain isn't this fixed, hardwired machine that you're stuck with for life. No way. It's plastic, meaning it can be shaped and molded by your experiences, your actions, and, this is the really crucial part, by your thoughts.
And look, this is not some fringe self-help idea. The renowned psychiatrist Dr. Norman Deutsch called it one of the most extraordinary discoveries of the 20th century. It completely flips our understanding of who we are and what we're capable of becoming.
Okay, so if our brains can change, how do we actually do it? How do we direct that change? Well, we need a system. And one of the most powerful toolkits we have is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Think of it as a set of exercises for your brain, a way to intentionally practice new ways of thinking and start carving out new, healthier neural pathways.
This is really the journey we're talking about right here. It's about actively moving from that left column to the right one, shifting away from that automatic, gloomy lens you see the world through to a perspective that's more calm, more considered, and actually based on evidence. You're literally replacing that feeling of being stuck with responses that are appropriate and frankly just feel so much better.
So, how does this rewiring actually happen? Well, it all starts with practice. You use tools like CBT to actively think in new ways. Every time you do that, you're stimulating new connections in your brain. Then, your brain, which is always looking for a reward, notices, hey, this new thought pattern, it actually feels good, and it starts to reinforce that pathway. And with enough repetition, what was once super difficult and felt unnatural becomes your new, healthy, automatic default.
So the most important point here, the thing you have to remember, is that it all comes down to practice. Every single time you challenge a negative thought or you choose a new perspective, you are physically, literally, making an imprint on your brain. Practice, 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 that's the engine of change.
Now, I know this might all sound great in theory, but you're probably thinking, where's the proof? So let's get into the evidence and see how this incredible process actually works in the real world.
Some of the earliest evidence came from injury recovery. A doctor named Shepard Ivory Franz worked with stroke patients who had been paralyzed, some for years. He found that through engaging, brain-stimulating exercises, they could actually recover function. Their brains were literally rewiring themselves around the damaged areas to find new ways to control their bodies. It was mind-blowing stuff.
And the brain's ability to adapt is just incredible. In a famous experiment, scientists temporarily closed one of a kitten's eyes. Now, you'd think the part of the brain assigned to that eye would just go dark, right? Wrong. The brain didn't let that area go to waste. Instead, it rewired itself to process more information from the eye that was still open. It's a perfect example of a core principle. Your brain refuses to waste what's called cortical real estate. It will always find a way to adapt.
Okay, you might say, but what about something more everyday, like just learning? Well, check this out. In a fantastic study, researchers scanned med students' brains before and after they crammed for a huge exam. And what did they find? The students' brains showed actual physical changes in the parts of the brain tied to memory and learning. And the control group, who didn't study for the exam, no significant change. The very act of studying had physically altered their brain structure.
And this might be the most powerful example of all. Neuroscientist Richard Davidson showed that purely mental practice can do the exact same thing. His work with the Dalai Lama and other long-term meditators found that meditation physically alters brain function, attention, and the connection patterns inside the brain. This is direct proof that our thoughts, all by themselves, can change our brain.
So what does all of this really mean for you right now? It means the blueprint for your brain is not set in stone. The power to draw a new one is quite literally in your hands, or maybe more accurately, in your head. So let's just pull this all together. The single most important thing to remember is that your brain is not fixed. It is always evolving. You can physically change it through your thoughts and actions. And while tools like CBT can give you a fantastic roadmap, the real engine of change is just simple, consistent practice.
If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Your brain is not fixed. It's formable. You have the ability to shape it.
And that really leaves us with one last powerful question. Knowing what you now know, knowing that you can actively shape the physical structure of your brain and your default ways of thinking, what new pathways will you choose to build?